So this is our last stop, and just a couple of things to mention before I just tell you a little bit about 20th century gangs. One of the last traditional pewter makers, one of those classic Birmingham 18th and 19th century trades, still carried on in Well Street, in that corner place. So it's great to see that surviving.
That's our neighbour's factory. So
oh really?
Very much still surviving.
Oh okay, yes. Yeah. And they've been going for
270 years.
Yeah.
Members of the family have been sort of in charge in that time, 7 generations.
Yeah, fantastic. There is a little display about them at the think tank.
There is, yeah.
I think this is an old umbrella works, now called the Brolly Works. It's it later on became a crisp factory, but it's oh look, you can wave to the and turned into apartments. So they were making not this bit of the umbrella, but they were making the frame part, which is again classic Birmingham metal industry. Just point out, you can just see it over the back there, and it may be one of the last times you see it, because that dirty great tower that I think is still due to come in that corner, called Beorma. The Beorma Tower will be there. This huge block commercial and retail block is going to be built there. So they're going to erase, sadly, a really interesting building at that corner to replace it with the name Beorma, which is of questionable history anyway. So the building that you can just see is the London Museum Concert Hall, the last surviving Victorian music hall in Birmingham. It's on the corner of Park Street, and you could walk past it to Selfridges and think what an anonymous building, and it is. It was the cheap end of the music hall business, but a really interesting one, built in 1863. Yes, that's right, that's one. Yeah. Had various other names. It was called the Pavilion, the Canterbury, Coots, Bullring Cinema, and eventually it turned into a cinema called, nicknamed the Blood Tub. Never converted to talkies. Always specialised in fairly, bloody melodramas. But a very rough and ready house, which attracted the gangs, especially the Peaky Blinders. But 19th century theatres were so out of control. You loaded up with cheap fruit from the Bullring, and then you went in there ready to pelt any performer that you didn't fancy. And if it didn't end in just squashed tomatoes and so on, it could easily end in one manager was stabbed, was killed outside trying to defend his premises. And so and so on. But an interesting building, and it's a shame it will go. There's lots of interesting stories about that. So it's called the London Museum Concert Hall, but it was a theatre for a music hall type theatre rather than plays. And so if you walk up Digbeth and turn right into Park Street, it is at that corner there. It's a creamy grey. Yes, it's off colour. Yeah. Let me just mention the 20th century gangs while we're at it. So I talked about how by the later 19th century the gangs are beginning. The illegal activity of choice, today it would probably be drugs, but in the illegal activity of choice in the 19th century and first half of the 20th is gambling, and particularly gambling on horses. After the 1845 Act, it was only possible legally to gamble on horses at the race course. So anything that went on in the back streets was illegal, but that's how the gangs made quite a lot of money running and making the operation. Certainly this gang in the Peaky Blinders series uses that as a way to make money. But then they want to move into the bigger time, and the big time is to control the betting at the race courses themselves. And there was a group called the Birmingham Boys who pretty well ran the courses of the Midlands and the North. So you couldn't stand there as a bookie unless you were giving money to them. They were protecting you but effectively employing you. And then the leader was Billy Kimber, who led the Brummagem Boys. In early 20th century they tried to move in on the London and Southern courses, where of course they hit another gang who was the Sabini gang of former Italian immigrants who were controlling the betting courses in the London area. And the Battle of King's Cross took place, at which Billy Kimber was shot, and then the Battle of Epsom Road shortly afterwards led to 23 of the Brummagem Boys being arrested and taken to prison, and that broke the back of that gang. And of course it's carried on ever since, into the Futrals and the Crays and all the rest, but that's a bit too close for comfort. I'm sure they were all lovely people. You heard that? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. Go and get